So the contents of my presentation today, so there was the request from the organizers was to give you a presentation on the initiatives we have that are being prepared under the Horizon Europe program. These are not focused on urban farming, but I'm going to try to explain you at the end when I present them why they can be interesting for urban farming too, but they have a broader scope. So I'm going to go into why we have a growing interest at European level in living labs in agriculture. Then I will give you some hints on the Horizon EU partnership on agroecology, living labs and research infrastructures. And then I will tell you a bit about the living labs under the Horizon EU mission on soil health, because these have a focus on urban as well. So they're particularly relevant for you. So why are living labs on the rise? Well, because of this context we have, probably you have spoken about it already this morning, of change, the need for change. Change is urgent. And that's why we have come up with this initiative at European level, this big priority for the 5 years between 2019 and 2024 of the new Commission when it entered into force. It's the European Green Deal, which is our strategy to come up with to become the first climate neutral continent by 2050, and that spans across all the sectors, as you can see in this flower there, with specific strategies that have a very big impact on the farming sector. And is translated into the Farm to Fork strategy, the EU biodiversity strategy, and more recently the European climate law as well. So change is urgent. And it's translated also into targets that are very ambitious and that have to be achieved by 2030, like reducing pesticides, reducing the use of fertilizers, having more agricultural land and a high diversity landscape, tripling the share of organic production in Europe, protecting soil fertility, reducing erosion, increasing soil organic matter, also reducing greenhouse gas emissions by at least 55%, and many others. And this is really both very ambitious and urgent. So it's really time to step up the efforts in agricultural research and innovation, because by 2030 means only 9 years, 9 growing seasons to achieve these that are very far away, these targets from us. So we understand research and innovation as really key enablers to this transition. And we're lucky that, well, we don't start from scratch. We've had a very ambitious approach to agricultural research and innovation already in the period that is just finishing, in which we have elaborated a long-term strategic approach to EU agricultural research and innovation, which adds interactive innovation and the multi-actor approach for sustainability already at its heart. So what I'm going to say about living labs builds on that. So living labs are a lot about interactive innovation as well. And we have started this already in 2014 with the creation of the EIP, the European Innovation Partnership for Agricultural Productivity and Sustainability, which is really the umbrella initiative that brings together all our activities on agricultural research and innovation, especially those that are interactive and multi-actor. So the EIP AGRI has supported under Horizon 2020 two types of projects, multi-actor ones, so transnational research and innovation. Multi-actor projects we've had for around a value of 1 billion euros, of these projects 190, and transnational thematic networks that were there for knowledge exchange. And under the farm policy, so the Common Agricultural Policy, more local innovation projects that we call EIP AGRI operational groups, and we have more or less 2,000 at the moment. And we have brought these together into EU EIP AGRI networking activities with focus groups that collect the research needs from practice, that exchange knowledge, and that bring all the results together in a common web platform. So this is everything that has been put together now. So now, why are living labs, how living labs came about? Well, first they came naturally as a result of this multi-actor calls for projects, multi-actor projects, because living labs are a formula to bring engaged actors together into interactive innovation. They also came from the raise of digital farming as an issue, as a potential, in particular under the smart specialization platform supported under regional policy, because living labs are an instrument that has been developed very well in the digital world, much more than the agricultural world so far. And it also came from the G20 work of in the meeting of agricultural chief scientists at international level, so the MAX. There's been a working group on agroecosystem living labs where we have worked a lot on the concept and the definition and the perception of living labs applied to agriculture as potentially a powerful tool to accelerate change. So that's how they came about. And of course, we have this long-standing tradition, almost tradition, because the Commission has not started to support Living Lab this year, but almost 20 years ago under the 6th Framework Program for Research and Innovation. That's how the European Network of Living Labs was built. And so we have this as a strong resource also to inform this. It's just that Living Labs had not been until now so much applied to farming, and that's still new. So how could Living Labs enrich our research and innovation approach? First, what's very important for us is why we'll deploy Living Labs that we build on everything that we have done already. So this multi-actor approach that is already brings already the user-centered innovation component, the multi-actor approach with mostly agriculture, science, and industry involved, but it can be more varied depending on the projects, and that has also installed the identification of research and innovation needs from practice, so the user or orientation, this is strongly connected, and the knowledge exchange. So this we want to keep. But what the Living Labs could strengthen, and that's why we're interested in this as an approach, is first to maybe involve more actors than the ones we have classically in most of the multi-actor projects, so more the wider public, consumers, for example, local authorities, to have much greater attention to the social and behavioral drivers of change. This is done in many of the projects that we have already, but we would like this to be more systematic, and centrally to really install this into a place-based, territorial, and long-term approach where all the actors at regional level, so we very much understand the potential of this instrument in a place-based way. And that's what's interesting also for the regions, I think, really embedding this into a territorial and long-term approach, as opposed to ad hoc project per project. Project begins, project ends, and sometimes we have a lack of continuity. Through the Living Labs, we would like to install this continuity. So a very quick look at the Research and Innovation Program for 21-27, which is called Horizon Europe. We have various instruments to power this transition that we call for. We have the work program for 21-22 coming up in May, we hope, with all the calls for collaborative projects. We have the missions and the partnerships that are two new instruments under the Horizon Europe. Missions are large-scale portfolio of coordinated actions to reach a bold and inspirational objective. The typical example is putting a man on the moon. When we have wanted to put a man on the moon, we have strategically organized all our resources to get there. So that's a bit the picture. And missions are proposed in 5 areas, including one, which is soil health and food. And there a mission has been proposed called Caring for Soil is Caring for Life, with Living Labs and Lighthouse Farms as a core instrument of the implementation plan. We have also partnerships. So partnerships as our concerted research and innovation efforts with the EU and associated countries and member states. So with member states from the EU and associated countries, sorry, that's not clear, and or the private sector, foundation and stakeholders. And there we have proposed already back in 2019, so much before the Green Deal, actually, an initiative on agroecology, living labs and research infrastructures. So I'll start with this one. What is it? And why living labs on agroecology? And these two concepts, they fit very well together. So as I said, we want to empower a rapid green transition. Agroecology is about working better with nature, using ecosystem services better in farming as a substitute for things that are a bit less sustainable as well, and that meet our all this to meet the targets I presented earlier. So agroecology is recognized as potentially providing a powerful contribution to the targets and objectives of the Green Deal in all of the documents in the strategy. I mean, explicitly it's mentioned. And we know that research and innovation are needed that can empower the uptake and the scale up of agroecology. And as living labs have potential to accelerate change, we think associating these two is a good idea. And in fact, agroecology elements fit very well with the living lab principles. They are adapted to local ecosystems, and they have a strong place-based or real communities, real life settings element. They both seek to involve actors at territorial level to achieve a large-scale impact. They both have a strong focus on social and behavioral dimensions, and they both use a systems approach. So we think we can have a very powerful combo there by building agroecology living labs with a strong place-based dimension. In a nutshell, what is it? So the goal of the initiative of the partnership is to accelerate the transitions towards sustainable climate and ecosystem friendly farming practices by enabling to better grasp short to long-term agroecology processes from farm to landscape levels. So in the long term, you'll find this long-term component I have mentioned, and in farm to landscape levels, also this multi-scalar and territorial and place-based approach, which is so dear to the spirit of this initiative. The objectives would be to strengthen the agroecology research and innovation ecosystem. So this is a co-fund partnership with the member states. So we would seek to align the approaches with the actors in the member states. To ensure this transition, we need to improve farmers' knowledge on the implementation of agroecology and its benefits, and looking at also, I mean, the potential costs for them and the socioeconomic dimensions. And we need to improve the sharing of knowledge and experience across regions and countries. And for that, the types of activities we would set up it would be, well, to set up a common framework for methods, protocols, data management, so we can measure the impacts of these agroecology practices in a way which is comparable. We need to create spaces for long-term, site-specific and real-life experimentation and innovation. That would be the living labs or alike, and to create a network of these spaces and knowledge-sharing mechanism all across Europe. What have we done so far? So we have launched a co-creation process last year already in May. That has lasted from May to October 2020 with 6 webinars and close to 300 people involved, where we have thought to share the understanding of the concepts and discuss the tasks that we have to perform to build this partnership. Since June last year, there's been a lot of work on agreeing on the governance of this initiative, which is quite complex with the EU and the member states and associated countries and the potential role of the regions, extra. So what's been decided on demand of the member states is to create a new group under the Standing Committee on Agricultural Research, the SCAR. That group has been created officially on 1st January 2021, and it will be the drafters group, so the group actually in charge of writing the partnership proposal. We have 22, actually Latvia just joined, so 23 countries now signed up to the group, with Germany, Denmark and Spain as co-chairs. And after that, we've done in autumn a first screening of the agroecology living labs and research infrastructures already existing in Europe. We have received 210 replies with a lot of concrete examples from which we can start. Some of which are not entirely relevant, others a bit more. So it helps us to see what's out there in the field as well. And since November, January, we also have 2 Horizon 2020 projects, 2 CSAs, coordination and support actions that started. They are called Already and Agroecology for EU, and they're really here to support the development of this partnership and to help co-create it. So now we're really deep into the co-creation of the partnership concept. That's something we need to finish this year with a vision and ambition, objectives, activities, the funding schemes, the monitoring extra that needs to be brought together. and not in isolation, but also in synergies with all the other partnerships and with the soil mission. So what's important also is that these two TSAs, they're going to pilot the network and to help build the capacities to create and run this agroecology living lab initiative. That will be funded from the work program 2023 of Horizon Europe. So it will start then in 2024, but with piloting activities before. So why is it interesting for urban farming? First, we believe the place-based approach that it promotes offers the possibility to connect the urban and the rural, as Grigoris was insisting, is important. The regions are involved, so we've organized one of the 6 webinars was a webinar with EGF and the Committee of the Regions at the EU Regions Week in 2020 last year, where we saw already 3 examples of regional living labs that are active in the agroecology field, and we think they cannot be place-based approach without a core involvement of the local and regional authorities. So of course this is not going to stop at the rural border in terms of impact, although we are looking here at farming in general, not specifically at urban farming. And living labs are opportunities for citizens to get involved, especially around food issues, but also sustainability issues. In our mapping, we saw in our first screening of living labs, we saw that people are actually more involved as citizens than as consumers. That's quite interesting. And last but not least, we really see agroecology being in focus in many of the urban and peri-urban food gardening or urban farming on soil, at least, initiatives. And so there are lessons to be learned for the urban farmers on what's going to happen in the agroecology living labs in general. A short look at the soil mission. So the mission, as I said, is a portfolio of coordinated actions that is there to achieve a bold objective, and it includes research and innovation actions, but also other types of actions. So the proposed mission there is that by 2030, at least 75% of all soils in each EU member state are either healthy or show a significant measurable improvement for all indicators on soils where the levels are below accepted thresholds. And the objective is not soil per se, but soil to support the provisioning of the essential ecosystem services that are needed for life, for food, for people, for nature, for climate, and for everything that is important for life. This mission has defined 8 precise objectives. It's the first time we have this comprehensive approach to soil, and that's a big novelty that is introduced there, and there will be indicators and targets attached to each of them that are aspirational targets, not policy objectives, but that aim to set the direction towards progress. So the objectives are about reducing land degradation, conserving soil organic carbon stocks, stopping soil sealing. So that's a very important objective there for urban soils, that you need to keep the soils. And one way to keep the soils is to farm them in the urban areas as well. To reduce pollution and enhance soil restoration, prevent erosion, improve the soil structure, reduce the global footprint of EU's food and timber imports on land degradation as well, and significantly improve soil literacy in all the member states. So soil literacy meaning the awareness of every citizen of what it means to protect the soil and have healthy soil and the importance of healthy soil for life. So how to meet the mission objective there, a big role has been defined for living labs. So the mission overall is built around 4 building blocks. First, an ambition research and innovation program, an EU-wide soil monitoring program, communication and citizen engagement, and as I say, a very important building block is co-creation, testing and demonstration of solutions in living labs and lighthouses. So living laboratories would be there to create knowledge and design, test and disseminate innovative solutions to improve soil health on various land uses, so farming, forestry, urban and industrial sites, and applying to a diversity of themes, production systems, approaches, and of course answering these objectives that I've just listed. And the lighthouses are another term. Lighthouses are more exemplary sites that would have that would achieve exemplary performance in terms of soil health. They would also test and demonstrate good practices, but they would be in particular very important spots for a demonstration because of their exemplary character. So we are currently working on the concrete implementation of this that will be launched much sooner. The first actions will be already in the work program 2021 of Horizon Europe. So why is it interesting for urban farming? Well, the mission will address all types of soils, as I said, including urban in all countries. So this is really, there will be really an opportunity to set up living labs in urban settings on soil health, and that would come quite logically in connection with urban farming. Again, there's an opportunity to connect with other living labs and to learn also the ones that will be more on rural areas and the ones from agroecology. The approaches will be centered on soil health, and so urban farming again can make a key contribution, and citizen engagement, soil literacy improvements, and all opportunities are all opportunities for urban food and farming initiatives as well to contribute to this big societal objective that we consider is the improvement of soil health. So thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation. I hope you found it interesting in terms of what's being prepared as a framework for supporting living labs in the EU around farming in general and the potential impact on urban. Thank you very much.